going on, Facebook land? Ben Atkins here, and in this process of making music, I thought it would be cool to start documenting everything that we do and putting it down so win, lose, or draw, whatever happens, we've got record of it later on. So I'm going to be doing a lot of these, and they're going to get weird because I'm just going to be sitting here playing and trying to figure out what I'm doing half the time. But I think that's part of the fun of it, is to see how boring this can actually get to just watch. But anyway, so tonight, what I wanted to do, it's super late. We're coming in on a 4th of July weekend, and just what a great opportunity to start doing this stuff. So what I'm probably going to do is probably going to post this stuff on the Signals for Silence blog. So for those of you that have caught on early and are following that, signalsforsilence.com, you can go check that out. So what I want to do is I want to walk you guys through some stuff that you don't normally get to see. At least I don't get to see this when I try to follow the musicians that I love. I'm going to show you behind the scenes to a song and how we actually put it together, and sort of how I work, because this is, like I said, extremely nerdy stuff that I do. But it is something that I quite enjoy, and I know there's maybe somebody out there that wants to know this stuff. So sort of what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you kind of how this works. So we just recently put out a single called John Wayne Selfie, and more music is to come from this thing called Signals for Silence, this band that we're not quite sure who's in it, who's not. I know I'm in it. But we've got lots of cool cats that come and play with us and help us get the music together. So that's awesome. What I want to share with you tonight is John Wayne Selfie. How did it come together? How did it all sort of, pan out? And I'm not going to get into like the story of the song or anything like that. But I am going to walk you guys through like the actual recording stuff. So first things first, I'm going to be walking you through the software in a second, but I'll tell you sort of where this starts. We have two instances of this. We have a studio that is the full-blown studio, which I'm sure I will give you a full tour of here pretty soon. It's pretty basic, but it's it's a home studio. It's something we built, but it's in a space where we can be as loud as we want, and the whole band can come in and play and do our thing. So we've got this whole space. We've got the full drum mics, the guitar setup, and all that. And basically, how this song came together was in two pieces. There was the piece where we were all in the studio doing that, and the main vocals, the main guitars for John Wayne Selfie, and the drums and bass were all done in that area. But there was this, some of this extra stuff, and that's what I'm going to show you tonight, because I'm actually at the home studio, which is at my house, up in my upper level of my house. So upstairs in my house is where the second part came in, and that's where some of the fun stuff started really kind of coming together for this particular track. Is we had sort of the guitars and the basic stuff, but there was these little subtle things that I heard in my head that I wanted to add to it. So I'm going to walk you guys through that tonight and show you kind of how this came together. So like I said, when I finally get to my house in the home studio to do the stuff we did from the other place, this is sort of how it comes together. So I'm going to turn around and show you guys sort of a setup. And this is what I look at this all the time, okay? So this is pretty much what I'm looking at all the time. And if you check this out, what you're seeing is a program. It's a piece of software called Studio One. It's from a company that we really love called Presonus. And what this allows us to do, for those of you that are not hardcore into the music industry or how all this stuff actually comes together, this allows us to track multiple tracks at once and then mix them separately. So it's not just one recording, but we've got a lot of different instruments. So on each of these tracks, for instance, we've got maybe 6 to 8 mics on a drum set. We can map and individually mix. So what you're looking at right here, though, is a little farther down the road. So there's only going to be a few tracks here. So what you're looking at here is I've actually taken everything that we've done down at that particular studio and brought it to my home studio. So right around here is where this song starts. So I'm going to play it so you guys can hear without any of the extra stuff that was put on in the home studio. So you're hearing the version that came to me before I actually got to the part where we were doing the extra stuff. So let's actually go through. So you're going to be able to hear this through the mic that I'm talking through. So, well, hopefully, let's do this. So let's hit play. And if you've heard this song, you're not hearing some parts that were in it. But here's the drums right here. So this is the original track. All right, so that's the original track that came in, and that's the basis of that. So with that, you want to start adding the polish, and at least that's what we do. We kind of get into our mode, we play that stuff, and then we hit into sort of the polish section. So what do we do? What are we going to be doing with the polish section for this that sort of stacks in the extra stuff? So we've got our drums, we've got our bass, we've got our vocals, we've got all the guitars, and we've mixed all that stuff in. And now I'm getting to a place to where I want to add some stuff that I don't have down at that studio that's going to take me some time to actually sit around and play around with stuff. So that's when, if you know this track, there is a couple key parts that come into this, and all of those key parts are played using one of these. Now, I am not a piano player by any means, but this is a control surface that is a piano that makes it easy for me to just play around with stuff until I'm ready to go. So this is just a simple, it's from M Audio, nothing too high quality, but you hook it into, if I can find it, you hook it into your computer with a USB, and then you can control stuff. Okay, so what stuff can you control? Because I think that this is probably, stuff that not a lot of people get to hear about. So in particular, what's up, Kevin? How you doing, man? Good to see you. Sophia. By the way, if you're jumping in, say, hey, I'm going to bore you to tears with this music nerd stuff if you're not into it, but feel free to say hey, because I've pretty much decided that I'm just going to stream this stuff for my own records, whether anybody shows up or not. So what I've got is I'm going to turn the screen. I'm going to show you guys the screen here, and what you're seeing on sort of the right, you're going to see something that says analog strings, substance, signal, X loops, exhale, and rev. Now, what that is, there is a company called Output. And Output is one of my favorite new companies out there. I don't guess they're particularly new, but Output makes a set of sounds that you can use, and I can really get into this and show you a lot with this. But the main thing you have to realize is if I pull this over here, you can see it a little better. So what we've got here is we've got a set of sounds that we can go in. And I've titled this one John Wayne Birds because I found a preset that I liked, and then we edited a little bit to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this out, and I'm going to play some stuff for you guys so you can hear. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, make sure that we are locked in. And if you hear that, you can kind of hear that if you've been listening to our track at all, John Wayne Selfie, you can hear some of these parts. So in the background at the very beginning when there's just the guitar playing, you're going to hear this. And then when the drums kick in, you hear. And, it's subtle. And it's one of those things that you wouldn't think would make such a big difference. I'm going to pan down so you guys can kind of see this here. But basically what this is a simple, we're just playing with a G. And then we're going to get in here and go to when the track starts. So what happens is we're going to go in and you're going to start hearing that. Now, I'll show you sort of where this comes in the track. Let me pan back up so you can see me. So we get into panning into the track here. So I'm going to show you back on the screen. Like I said, that's how I've got that. And so what happens is you go from sort of this place where you've got just this basic guitar stuff, and you've added on an extra layer. So when I'm going to unmute this now. When I unmute this, you're going to hear now that particular sound come in. So here's the guitars. You can hear it fading up. Now we go up an octave on the G. So basically what happens is every time we hit a chorus, the birds, the John Wayne birds as we call them, that's just the name we gave them, kick back in. So take a picture. And if I'm muting that out, you can hear just the birds in the background there. So nothing too fancy. It's one of those things where if you have a really good mix, and the guy that mixes this stuff for us is our guitar players, our lead guitarist Eric. And if you have a really good mix, you can hear everything. A lot of bands, when they first start out, this was us included. The problem is you can't hear all the little individual things. You can't hear each instrument. You can't hear each drum because it's mixed poorly. So when we actually go in and we mix this stuff, one of our big things is, can you hear every individual instrument, and you have a lot of space, okay? So once I get to this particular part, I can start sewing this stuff a little bit better together. So that's the birds. Now, this same program, and like I said, I'm the one that I'm going to drag over here, and I'm going to show you guys, this same program played several of these sounds. There was a kind of a slide in, and I'm going to play this for you real quick too. It's at the very beginning, there's this kind of scary flow in to what we're doing. So right before the drums happen, you're going to hear sort of this rise, and that's what it is. It was this same program that I'm going to show you guys, and it's, like I said, it's by Output. Output is an amazing synth company. I don't know if you call them synth company, but what they do is they make, like I said, these inserts. So let me actually play this for you so you guys can hear that. I'm just going to play it with by itself first, and I'll show you guys sort of the track here. So I'm going to show you guys this track, so let me turn this around so you can see it. So in the very beginning, let me turn all that off. In the very beginning, you're going to hear, like, there's the birds there, that's that track. Now here's the rise. So I'm going to put it about right here. I'm going to play both of these and then turn the guitar off so you can hear the rise by itself. Okay, so it's this track right here that I've got highlighted. Right here's where it starts. I'm going to cut this out so you can hear it. And it cuts off just like that. But the plan is, and sort of what we ended up doing, is it's kind of cuts out right as that guitar is coming in. So the weird thing about how all this works to me is I had this guitar, that was very just by itself. We had sort of the bird sounds that we added in here. And then I had a problem because I still felt like it was a big jump from just guitars and the bird sound to, which is the fun effect that I showed you guys a second ago, to coming in with the full band. So we needed something very subtle that would come in. So what happens is we're using, I believe it was the of the Output suite that I was showing you guys a second ago. I believe it was the reverse. So that is a reverse instrument recorded in reverse. You hit a key on the piano and it comes in. So the last thing I'm going to show you guys is the ending. And this is subtle. I don't think a lot of people hear this because it's supposed to be really tucked back into the mix. But what we've got at the very end of it is we have a set of strings. And this is the analog strings. So I'm going to show you guys again here. I'm going to drag this over so you guys can see it big. So this analog strings, there's this sort of section that I'm like, the end needs something else. It needs something different. So I'm going to solo this out so you guys can hear sort of what we have here. So here's the strings. And that's going to really bring the end together because it's something different than the other choruses. And when we're trying to bring it home, that's what we wanted to do. So if I come in and I show you guys this thing at the end here, and that's what I really want to do now, is I'm going to show you sort of how it kind of comes together as a whole. So what we've got is we've got these three things. This is the main thing we recorded down at our studio, and then we've got these things with the bird sounds and the strings. So I solo it. You can hear just that. Now let's solo the birds. And then whole band right here. You didn't notice without paying attention to the smile on your face, not in the picture. So that's pretty much the ball game. That's what it took to take a track that I liked that was driven completely by a couple guitar parts, and I mean, and that's what's so fun is. You sit and you hear sort of the beginning of something, and it's really basic. So I remember the first time, I'm going to sit down so I can show you guys this, because why not show you the whole thing, right? The first time that John Wayne Selfie sort of starts to come together, it was just sitting here with the guitar. And it was just that chord progression, so it was... which is pretty boring by itself, because it's just this G, C, E minor, back to C sort of thing. And then it was the lead that sort of brought it. And I remember it was interesting when that effect came on. I remember the riff was fine. It was... And then we had this one effect that just was the perfect amount of delay, and that's when I knew we had a song. It goes from just the super boring... and we had the lead. And we stacked those two on top, and I was like, okay, we have something here. And then it was like, okay, this is the part that I hate the most, and I shouldn't hate it, but when I have to actually write something that I feel matches this, and this is when it did get fun too, but this is when the pressure's on. So it was like, okay, what's the feeling of the song? And I remember just sitting there, and I had the verse. I had the "You're an American darling, I'm almost famous" thing, and then it was the chorus. That's the thing that just drove me nuts. And I was sitting around writing, and I was playing around, and then finally, just out of nowhere, "Take a picture" hits me. And not that it's any genius line or anything like that, but it felt right, and it felt like it went with everything, so it was just... Take a picture. You push your heart out of shaking from miles away. Being John Wayne Standing. I remember when John Wayne Standing hit me, I was like, yep, that's the song. That's what I want to do. And from start to finish, with everything that I've shown you guys tonight, so far in the last, we've been here like 20 minutes, holy crap. So in the last 20 minutes or so, it goes from a simple acoustic guitar chord progression, like that anybody that has played guitar for, a week can play. We get that lead on top of it. We start to stack the lyrics, and then I take it down to the band, and they help me sort of arrange everything and get our parts down. And then we go there, and we come back here. Once we have sort of our finished mix, and we're starting to get happy with that, we come back here, and I'm looking at this screen, and I'm looking at my main track right here. And then it really starts getting interesting when we find the birds and we find the orchestra stuff, and that's fun. So... yeah, I have no idea what else you guys might want to do with this. I do this kind of this Facebook Live thing a lot for my other gig. I don't do it a whole lot for the music thing, but I thought this would be fun because I get super interested. I don't care how famous anybody is, if they've got 3 fans or they've been doing it a while. I get super interested in how they actually record music, how they layer things, what their tools are. And I thought maybe you guys would be into it too. So that's it. That's how John Wayne Selfie went from a tiny little riff that was all chords to a little bit of a lead, which that's when we knew we had a song. And we started putting some stuff on top of it. And then when it was all said and done, we got our finished product. And it's interesting. I have no idea what it really is yet, because it's a song that's out there. So if you guys want to go listen to John Wayne Selfie, you can go to Spotify, you can go to Apple Music, you can search for Signals for Silence, you can search for John Wayne Selfie. It's a pretty unique name, which is nice. And you can go listen to it now, and you can hear the finished version. I'm going to be uploading this to signalsforsilence.com, and like I said, I'm going to keep a running diary of what I'm doing as I'm doing it. So this is sort of a retrospect, but I'm going to keep doing this sort of as I'm going, and you guys are going to see me very uncomfortable, because I'm going to be wrestling with trying to write songs and trying to put things together live, because why not? I think that we live in a much different world, music industry-wise, than we did a few years ago. And I think the folks that I really enjoy watching, they let me in to things that I would normally have access to. So hopefully you guys dig this. Hope you're having a good holiday. I'm out of here. If you have any questions and you watch this later, feel free to throw them in there, and I'll be glad to answer. Whether it's equipment, what programs are we using? Why do I ramble on so much? Feel free to throw it in there. We'll take care of it. So have a good one. And like I said, you can go check out John Wayne's Selfie on iTunes. You can check it out, Spotify, all the major music players. It's up now. You can go stream it for free, or you can buy it for your own. And go to Signals for Silence. You can watch me making an ass of myself live all the time. All right. Be good. I'll talk to you guys soon.